Hey guys, I'm Dav, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2. So, today, Creative Assembly released a bit of news, if you can even call it that, about Mortal Empires. And unfortunately, it still looks like it's still a few weeks away. They're not really wanting to put a specific release date on it yet, which is a bit unfortunate. But you know, we're all patiently waiting. There wasn't really any mention of anything with multiplayer, which is why I'm not really going over the announcement. I will leave a link down in the description to the announcement itself. If you're curious, you can go read it. There's not really a lot of information there. It's mostly just, hey, remember this is a thing. We're still working on it. Should only be a few weeks, but we don't have a date yet. That was the gist of it. But I thought, in the meantime, we would go ahead and take a look at some of the changes being made for Mortal Empires. Now, keep in mind, this is from a mod that has enabled these changes. Well, I guess it didn't make these changes. These changes, I believe, have all been made by Creative Assembly because they're fairly consistent across the board and in line with what needs to happen with a lot of these factions. So the main thing that's been changed, and we're not going to go over too much here. We're mostly just going to go over the Dwarfs and the Empire. The main thing that's changed that I want to go over is your item selection. So let's start with the Dwarf Lord here. So you'll see he no longer has access to the Fire Ring of Thori. Instead, he's got two different items here. He's got the Silver Horn of Vengeance, which affects a 40-meter radius with plus 36% charge bonus, which is pretty meh. I mean, 36% charge bonus is nice, but a lot of Dahe units have really low charge bonus to begin with, so I don't really see the point of this. He's also got this Banner of the Lost Holds, which is a much better buff. Plus 5 melee attacks and 6% weapon damage is pretty nice, and it's a constant buff in the 40-meter area of effect, so that's really nice. With Ungrim and Thorgrim, there's not really too much stuff to go over. The really good stuff is here with the heroes. So let's start with the best of the best, the Runesmith. So if we go over here to items, you'll notice his items have been cut down substantially. He's just got the Master Rune of Groth One Eye, which is the +8 leadership rune in a 40-meter radius. He's also got this Hammer of Karak Draz, which is a hex on an enemy. It lasts 47 seconds, which is quite a while, and it's minus 44 melee attack and 25% weapon damage, which is a huge debuff. So that could potentially be useful if he's matched up against a lord who's going to murderize him, or if he wants to support another heroic fight, like if Ungrim's fighting someone, or, whatever. The main thing I wanted to go over for this guy, though, is, he's still got Rune of Negation, Rune of Oath and Steel, and Forge Fire, but Rune of Wrath and Ruin now has a minus 48% speed debuff, which is huge. The Dahe need everything they can get to slow down heavy cavalry and chariots and other mobile units, so this is really nice for them. It only has a 75-meter range, which isn't very far. He can't cast it very far, but minus 48% speed is huge, so that's really useful. Let's go next to the Thane. He's still got the same abilities, but if we go over here to items, he's got some really nice items. First, the Master Rune of Stromny Redbeard, which is the plus 5 melee attack, plus 4 leadership rune, has been given to him. It's 40-meter radius, a constant buff, which is very nice. But perhaps more importantly, most importantly, I would say for the Dahe, he has been given the Tormentor Sword. So this is an extremely powerful item. As you can see, it is a snare, a hard snare. Enemy cannot move in a 30-meter radius and minus 26 melee attack. It is only a 30-meter radius, and it's only around the Thane himself. So, but still, I mean, a hard snare for 19 seconds is much better than anything the Dahe have had before to help, with chariots and so on. So the way I see this working is you kind of keep your Thane with your line, and then when chariots or heavy cavalry come charging in, you pop this Tormentor Sword, and then they're frozen in place, countercharge with Slayers, and you can get some really nice damage done, while they're snared, essentially. So the Dahe have needed a snare for a very long time, and they've finally got it in the form of the Thane with the Tormentor Sword. Get excited. The Dahe look like they're coming back. This is huge for them. I can't stress enough how big this is for the Dahe. So let's go to the Master Engineer now. He's been given the Fire Ring of Thori, so that's been taken from the Lord and given to the Master Engineer here. So he's got that cone attack, of course. All cone attacks are now aimable, so that's even better. He's going to be probably more useful than he was before. Still got the Rune of Slowness and his other abilities, of course. So yeah, I mean, that's huge for the Dahe. One other change I did want to note is Slayers are only 900 now instead of 1,000, which is very nice. But yeah, I mean, with that, between the Rune of Wrath and Ruin getting a speed debuff and the Tormentor Sword, the Dahe are going to be much, much better in multiplayer, I think. Those 2 buffs are huge for them, and I mean, time will tell to see how effective they really are, but I think they're going to be huge for the Dahe and really help them out in a lot of ways. So there have been some other changes, but that's really the main things I wanted to go over for the Dahe. Let's take a look at the Empire, and first we're going to start out with Karl Franz. So Galmaraz has been changed, so it's now plus 40% armor piercing and plus 16 bonus versus large, which isn't huge. I mean, it's something. But it's going to be interesting. I'll have to test this out to see if it's any good against, you know, large monstrous lord, for example, but time will tell. Of course, Reikland Runefrang was changed in the later patches of Warhammer 1, so it now is a melee attack and leadership buff. So that's it for Karl Franz. Balthazar Gelt, unfortunately, I did do some testing, and it looks like Final Transmutation is useless again, so unfortunately, Gelt is pretty much done for. And one thing that's consistent across all the generic lords is they've lost their potions, the potion of toughness and so on, so they won't have a way to self-heal outside of, you know, Lore of Life Wizards and so on. But yeah, you can see the just the Brunfang and the Charm Shield for the General of the Empire, so maybe give you an incentive to bring, you know, Todbringer or Karl Franz. There's not too many other changes to go over with the Empire here. Let's actually go over just a couple things with the heroes. So the Witch Hunter's got some nice changes. He's up to 50 armor now, which is honestly what he should have been at before. If you put him on the Barded Warhorse, he goes up to 70 armor, which is actually pretty nice. This guy might be a little more viable now. He does have the same abilities. Their numbers have been slightly tuned differently on some of them, but still mostly, you know, what you would expect. For his items, though, he's got the Banner of Eternal Flame, which is a really nice addition. Gives a fire damage in a 40-meter radius around him and plus 6% weapon damage. So against, like, Norska or the vampires, I think the Warrior Priest is going to have a nice role there, giving fire damage to all, you know, units in a nearby area, trading very effectively against regenerating units. Of course, if you couple that with the Kindle Flame, Kindle Flame's been changed, so it's a little bit different now, but still could potentially be very useful. Bears testing, but we'll have to wait and see. The Captain of the Empire's got Sword of Anti-Heroes and Potion of Foolhardiness, which the Sword of Anti-Heroes is something that's been given to a lot of different heroes across different factions, so that's one you'll see pretty consistently on melee-type heroes. For the Witch Hunter, he also has the Tormentor Sword, so I'm not so sure about this one. It's really good that the Dahe got it, but the Empire already have Nets of Amantok. I really don't think they needed another snare. Granted, there's not really a reason to bring the Witch Hunter, so I mean, I guess this gives you another reason to bring him. You run him out in front of your army to get sacrificed, and then just Tormentor Sword and shoot your enemy. I mean, it could work, but we'll have to see how it plays out. But, you know, that's definitely something to make note of, certainly. And that's pretty much it for the items for the Empire. In terms of changes, there's not a lot to look at here. Pistoliers went down in cost by 100, which is nice. Reiksguard went up by 50, which is honestly probably warranted. And it does look like the Luminarch has had its missile damage nerfed somewhat. So we'll have to wait and see exactly how much that plays out. But so far, looking good. All these changes are really nice and well warranted, and I think they're shaping up to be pretty good. Of course, all this is subject to change, you know, when Mortal Empires actually comes out, but we'll have to wait and see. For now, I'll be posting a video of me doing some unit testing with Sniper Cat, and you can see some of these units in action. I didn't test any of the heroes with their new items out, but I will be doing that shortly, and hopefully I'll have a video up within the next week or so with some more testing. Let me know what you guys want to see. After you watch that other testing video, let me know what units you would like to test. Of course, this is very limited because this mod doesn't add any Regiments of Renown or DLC units. A lot of the factions too, for example, Bretonia has barely anything on their roster. You know, they just have their pre-Bretonia download roster. And Chaos as well is missing over half their units. No Forsaken, Chaos Warriors with great weapons. A lot of these guys just not here. So unfortunately no Kolek as well, or Sigvald, just Archaon and Big Bird. But yeah, hopefully we get Mortal Empires sooner rather than later. Please, CA, please. If nothing else, just release the factions for multiplayer. Even if the campaign's not ready yet, the multiplayer is already getting a little bit stale for me with just the 4 factions in this game. So hopefully we get Mortal Empires very soon. But yeah, hopefully you guys learned a bit for this. Get excited too if you're a Dahe fanboy. The Dahe have got some really nice tools, some really good buffs, so they're going to be a lot stronger, I think, now than they've ever been before. So get excited about that. And yeah, if you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. I'm keeping it coming with more Total War Warhammer content every single day, so stay tuned for more, and we'll see you next time.